Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vishnu Krishna Prasthaya Bhutane Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sharyama Skyatya Deshatani Jaya Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vaishnava Gauranga Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama,
didn't mean to stop the kirtan, but I'm not sure how long my body is going to hold out, so it's good to keep eyes open. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vishnu today. Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Vaudhamani Pacharane. Namaste Sasanyavadi, Paschatire Dharane. Om Ganativinandasya, Janardanasalakaya, Chaksusimatan, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sutitam Nastapitam Vinavitale. Sayam Upakadamayam Dazati Sapadantikam. Vansakova Tuvisja Kripasanuvayavita Patitanam Pavanekyo Vaishnavika. Braving the elements to come and hear about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. How wonderful. So we heard how Kala Krishnadas, who had committed something improper while he was caring for Mahaprabhu during Mahaprabhu's tour of South India, how Mahaprabhu had rejected him in a true sense, in a very heavy way actually. He said, I've brought him back here, now my responsibility for him is over, now he can do whatever he likes, he can go wherever he likes. So Kala Krishnadas immediately, who was so devoted, to Mahaprabhu, despite his hypocrisy or his weakness. He began crying, and the devotees, 4 devotees, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, Jagannanda, and 2 others who I don't remember offhand, Mukundadatta probably, and they reassured him and engaged him further in service. And that service was to go to Navadvip and inform Mother Sachi and the other devotees that Mahaprabhu had returned from his 2-year tour of South India. What's the opposite of filling others with joy? Huh? Yeah, and that's commonly called selfishness. And the strange thing about selfishness is the more that your selfishness or trying to become happy for yourself, by yourself, fails you in bringing you happiness, unless you have knowledge, you become more and more selfish. Because, the reason why I'm not happy is because I didn't take care of myself enough, even though I displayed my efforts, and I become more selfish, and then more selfish, and the more selfish we become, the more miserable we become. And the main misery is loneliness, practically speaking. And of course, the main cause of loneliness is this missing Krishna, or turning our back on Krishna. Bhule Seji, forgetting Krishna. Krishna Bahimukh, turning our back on Krishna. And something is always missing. So anyway, the devotees, soon as Kala Krishnadas saw Mother Sachi, first offered her his obeisances, and he brought the Mahaprasadam that Mahaprabhu had sent. He then informed her of the good news that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from his South India tour. That means she would be able to get news for him. She was too elderly, it seems, and also she had other responsibilities with Vishnupriya to herself go. But at least she would get news, and she and others could go and see him, and she could send him something perhaps. And at least she knew he was well, and there was no difficulty. So she brought Kala Krishnadas brought that good news, and it gave so much pleasure to Mother Sachi, as well as all the devotees of Navadvip, headed by Srivas Thakur, that Mahaprabhu was returned. Because that's what would happen in the old days when someone was elderly, or there was a Vanaprastha couple, and they would decide to go on pilgrimage. Say they were in North India somewhere, or in South India, and they decide to go on pilgrimage to the Himalayas, to Badrinath or something, or Kedarnath or Jamunotri, or what one did I forget? Gangotri. So people would do that in their Vanaprastha years, and they would hand over all the family responsibilities to the children, and they would go. And it would be very difficult, because how would they get there? There were no cheap flights. There were no trams even. There were no trains. There was no buses. There were bullock carts, but but other than that, it was mostly walking. And they would say goodbye to their families, and their families would say goodbye to them in a tearful way, because it was most likely that they would never see them again. There would be no return. So when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's elder brother took sannyas, he went on pilgrimage. He went touring South India, and he, in fact, didn't ever return. He passed away at Pandharpur. life is dangerous. Or it's fragile, let us say that, and it's dangerous. And it's so odd because we take it for granted in the sense that, in a sense that we just naturally think that tomorrow is just going to be like today was. Tomorrow will be just like today. And for so many days, as we don't notice our aging, if you would move the pillows out of the way, then probably could have a little more room, or rather, Bristol High could have a little more room. So, and tomorrow we think it's just like today, but actually we don't see that tomorrow or the next day isn't. In many ways, it may be like today, but it's not exactly the same as today because we've gotten one day older. And that one means one day closer to the end of this body's life. And then, and because it happens so gradually and it happens day after day, that basically mostly life is the same, and then we have some problem and some physical problem, and then it's cured, and then we think, okay, dealt with that one. But we don't see the inevitable is coming, and we're lured into always thinking that tomorrow will be just like today. And then one day, there was some saying, I think some American computer entrepreneur said, he said, because sometimes in the world of alternative life, they say that you should live each day as if it's your last in this world. Which it's an interesting concept because you'd probably be a lot nicer to people, or I would. So this entrepreneur said, if you live every day as if it's going to be if it was your last day on earth, one day you're going to be correct. So all the devotees, that news gave so much pleasure to Mother Sachi. So what a brilliant engagement that Kala Krishnadas was given by Mahaprabhu's devotees, and therefore Prabhupada explains that the devotees are more merciful than Krishna himself. But actually, there's no difference between the mercy of the devotees and the mercy of Krishna. It's not independent mercy. It's the mercy of Krishna. So I remember speaking about this last week, in mentioning the story, pastime of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But in any case, so hearing of Lord Chaitanya's return, so how much happiness does that give the soul when you tell devotees or tell someone just the best news that they wanted to hear? Just brings so much happiness to you. What to speak of to them, but giving them the happiness is pleasing to you, and it's also said in Shastra, Padma Purana especially, that that's actually pleasing Krishna when the devotees are pleased. It's the best way to please Krishna. So Krishnadas, next from Navadvip, he went to the house of Advaitacharya. After paying him respect, Krishnadas offered Mahaprasadam to Advaitacharya and then informed him of the news about Lord Chaitanya in complete detail. Now when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj says in complete detail, what does he mean? Since Kala Krishnadas was the one who was informing him, you should be able to figure this one out. Yeah.
Everything about the Southern.
Yeah. in detail. He told them everything that had happened, from beginning to end. And the devotees, their ears became like cups. They just wanted to drink this about what Mahaprabhu did and how wonderful it was. Because everything he did, he was so exceptional in every way. And especially, and this is, because I just recently have studied chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 in Madhya Lila. And the exception, of course, all of Caitanya Caritamrta is so wonderful, but this in one sense is the very center of the whole book. And it talks so much about separation from the Lord. And it's important to listen to how much the devotees were exuberant, excited, thrilled to hear that Caitanya Mahaprabhu was coming. Why? Because in the heart of the devotees, the Ashraya Tattvas, the ones who held the love for the Vishaya, for Krishna, that's where love is. So that's how we learn about the Vishaya, the object of love, is very much by watching, first of all, the Ashraya, and then watching the interaction between the Ashraya and the Vishaya, between the lovers and the beloved. So they were so excited, and not just one person, but tens and tens and tens and tens of devotees were so excited to hear that Mahaprabhu was there. So we can just get some idea of the attractiveness of this person. And that leads us to understand that Mahaprabhu was meditating about Krishna in the mood of Sri Radha, and how attractive was Krishna. But Mahaprabhu was so attractive. And then hearing how, and of course Advaitacharya didn't just, and Kala Krishna said, this is a secret. Everything that Mahaprabhu said is a secret. He didn't say that. And don't tell anyone. So in this way, the devotees of Bengal began to hear about Mahaprabhu's activities as he toured South India, and they were wonderful. He was dancing in ecstasy, and people were amazed. And later on, in the 16th chapter, when it describes how he toured Bengal, he went up to Ramakeli. He said he went from Kulia Gram to Ramakeli, and it describes how there were so many people following him that everywhere he walked, the great mounds of earth taken away because he had touched that spot with his lotus feet. So how powerful. He was so internally absorbed in love for Krishna. He was dancing, he was chanting. When he was in Ramakeli, he was just chanting. He remained absorbed in ecstasy, internal. He was attracting so many people. So many people everywhere he went. If he would touch someone, if they would just see him, they would become infected, ecstatic. So we should get some idea of the attractiveness of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, someone could say, well, when people write good fiction, sometimes hagiography it's called, but these are hundreds of people, thousands of people, historical people, Maharaj Prataparuja, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, historical people. And they all became completely entrapped in the net of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's net of bringing people to the lotus feet of Krishna because of his own ecstasies. And some of the books, even that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj based his Caitanya Caritamrta on, they were written by people who knew Mahaprabhu. Kaviraj Goswami didn't personally. He came a few generations after Mahaprabhu. But Murari Gupta was the first author of Caitanya, Mahaprabhu's biography, Caitanya Charita, and he was personally present for all of his childhood leelas as his friend. Mahaprabhu loved him so much. And he would write about things. And everyone read it who was also there at the time, and no one said, "Where did you get that from?" No, rather they were accepted as authoritative. Yes, so we see, try to approach some understanding of how powerfully attractive Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was. So everyone, he informed Advaitacharya Kalakrishnadas of the news of Lord Chaitanya in complete detail. When Advaitacharya Goswami heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return, he became very pleased. Now, what do you make of this? In his great ecstasy of love, he made a rumbling sound and danced and chanted for a long time. What is that rumbling sound? Does anyone know how to make rumbling sounds? I don't anyway. But I don't know what he did, but it was caused by his ecstasy. It was natural, it was spontaneous, as was his chanting and dancing. And after hearing the auspicious news, Haridas Thakur became very pleased. So also did Vasudev Datta, Murari Gupta, and Shivananda Sen, Acharya Ratna, Vikeshwar Pandit. These are all the devotees in the Bengali devotees, most of them these are all basically the Navadvip devotees. Acharya Nidhi and Gadadhar Pandit were all very pleased to hear the news. Let me look at one thing here, excuse me. Oops. So Prabhupada translates the words here. Haridas Thakur Koila Parama Ananda. Please, Parama Ananda means extreme bliss, supreme bliss they experienced. Because they were missing him. But then, when presented with the understanding that he had come back and they could see him, then their excitement, their Paramananda just became Paramananda. They became so excited. Raghava Pandit, the son of Advaitacharya, and all the devotees, the son of Advaitacharya is probably Achyutananda. It doesn't say that it could be another son, but probably Achyutananda. And all the devotees became very satisfied, relieved that Mahaprabhu was all right. He returned safely. How many devotees can I describe who, Kaviraj Goswami says, who heard the news and was so thrilled? Everyone became Parama Ulas. What's the technical meaning of Ulas? Do you remember?
Jubilant.
Jubilant, yeah. Parama jubilant, Paramananda. And they all gathered together at the house of Advaitacharya. So as soon as everyone heard, everyone came to the house of Advaitacharya, and they began to plan. All the devotees offered respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Advaitacharya. They didn't forget etiquette. And in return, in fact, this is the natural way that Vaishnavas greet each other. And in return, Advaitacharya embraced them all, he blessed them. Advaitacharya then held a festival. They were all so happy, he didn't want to let them go, and he held a festival for 2 or 3 days. Thereafter, they all made a firm decision to what? What do you think? To go home and watch footy in the afternoon? No one, of course, is going to guess that. What do you think they made a firm decision? First of all, what do you think their festival consisted of? And
Prashad.
And Krishna Katha. No, I was going to make some mobile phone jokes, but I decided against it. All the devotees met together at Navadvip, and with Mother Sachi's permission, they departed for Naladri, Jagannath Puri. The inhabitants of Kalinagram, Satyaraj, Ramananda, and the other devotees there, they came and joined the Advaitacharya. Mukunda, Narahari, Raghunandana, and all the others came from where? Where did they live? Without looking. They have the devotees of Kanda or Sri Kanda. They all came to Advaitacharya's home to accompany him to Jagannath Puri. Any questions about that?
There's no mention of any women devotees. Is it implied or?
They came the next year. Actually, I'm just guessing that in one sense, because the next time they come, the following year, it does mention them, that they came. But, I mean, I could think of why, because they wanted to run as fast as they could. But no, there's no mention of any women coming at this time. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
It seems very spontaneous, this trip, and I just have to wonder, like, do they have to take time off work? Like, these current times, it's not so easy to just get up and go, and there are hundreds of them, it seems.
Yeah. So I think, so there's 2 points there. One is that the times are very different. And actually, it describes, the whole concept of jobs, for example, it's like only 200 years old. People were self-employed mostly, or the Brahmins existed by teaching or charity, or it describes how the father and uncle of Raghunath Das Haranya, Govindana and Haranya, they practically were supporting all the Vaishnavas in Bengal. But people lived simply too, and weren't as entangled. You would know, like, turn off the lights, and, I have to make sure of this or that. Like, people live simply. And I once saw this one book. It was about an agora, which is a Tamil word that means horrible. And agora is like a left-handed tantric, who are basically horrible, or they can do anything. So but he was completely renounced. So the person who wrote the book was speaking about the Aghora, which was his teacher, and he said that his teacher had said that people have no idea of the feeling of freedom that comes from renunciation. Because you don't have, like when I travel, I have these 2 huge bags, and then you have to have a person to help you carry the bags, and you have to have this, and you have to have that, you need this, and you need that. So life was very different then, things were simpler, so we could say that things are more comfortable and convenient now, or you could say it was a harder life. Usually you just couldn't turn the tap and the water magically comes from it. We just take these things for granted, flip the switch, and the light goes on. So there was a completely different lifestyle. It was much simpler. One could say not as comfortable, but healthier, much less complicated. People didn't have time to have all the mental problems that people have today. They were living their life, and often growing their food. Food wasn't genetically modified. People were stronger, healthier. If you go to Whiteman Park, you see the wagons that they use to carry the wood. Now they're huge, and this was how many years ago? Did you ever see those? They're huge. Did you see them? They're huge. Even father probably couldn't carry them. Maybe. But they're huge. People were strong. So that's one side. Life was different. And the other side, this is the nature of spontaneous love. Now this will come up. The point of spontaneous love comes up when they arrive in Jagannath Puri, which is the next chapter, which is also, it's so exciting because they decide to leave for Jagannath Puri, and it spontaneously on one level, but controlled by their natural, spontaneous swabhavika, natural love for Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And that means I have no choice, practically speaking. I'm going to see him. But then again, it takes several weeks to walk to Jagannath Puri from Navadvip. So all that time, they're thinking, soon I'll see Mahaprabhu, and their excitement is growing. And then day by day, they're getting closer, and their excitement is growing. And then when they actually arrive, as described in the next chapter, their excitement is boiling, and they're chanting and chanting, and they chant the whole way there. And this year, it doesn't describe that they did it because it's so spontaneous. But in the succeeding years, in the next years, they're all bringing, and especially when the ladies come, they're bringing all the foods from Bengal that Mahaprabhu loves. So they're all bringing gifts for his pleasure, and they're carrying them. They're carrying them, walking for 2 weeks. They have to carry them. Yeah, this is called the burden of love. Spontaneous love, and they know they're going to have to carry them. So on one hand, as you said, they weren't jobs which were created at the time of the Industrial Revolution and factories and everything. That's when, and what to speak of the more modern product of jobs is called an office. And the worst part of the office is that 4-letter word called boss. because when you have a boss, naturally, no offense to bosses, any bosses that happen to be present, because they're good bosses. Someone quickly comes to my rescue with a really good four-letter word like Lord or something wonderful. Someone come up with one quick. Okay. But because naturally, just when you have a boss, you want to please him. And most bosses, not some that are very kind-hearted, that's another good word, kind-hearted and considerate, and want to serve, treat their those who are working for them like their children almost, and they want to protect them and they care for them. That was actually more the old style. But nowadays, since the Industrial Revolution especially, it's just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and at any moment, the corporate world is rough. It's rough. It's rough. Yeah. So all this type of, and there's no job security, and then you get AI coming along, and then no one, and you're all going to be out of jobs, especially if you're a computer programmer. And before that they thought they got you by outsourcing everything, and then even the outsourcers are going to be outsourcing AI. So now I actually noted that when people are considering, the young people who are going into college, when they're considering their career, they're thinking in terms of what career can I have that won't be taken away by AI. Yeah, it's rough. Like you're in a growth industry, Gopal, taking care of people who are having mental problems. You can be sure that's going to be around for a long time. And drumming, that's really going to also come. And food. Anyway, we're going to get too distracted by Kali Yuga. So there's the next little segment. We have to know that something about it, because Paramananda Puri comes. And I'll just read it and then I'll say some things about Paramananda Puri. While residing at the house of Satimata, at Navadvip, Paramananda Puri, at that time, just when they found out that Mahaprabhu had come, at that time, Paramananda Puri came from South India. Traveling along the banks of the Ganga, he ultimately reached the town of Nadia. At Navadvip, Paramananda Puri took his board and lodging at the house of Satimata. She provided him with everything very respectfully. While residing at the house of Satimata, Paramananda Puri heard the news of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's return to Jagannath Puri. He therefore decided to go there as soon as possible. There was a devotee of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's named Dvija Kamalakanta, whom Paramananda Puri took with him to Jagannath Puri. Paramananda Puri very soon arrived at Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's place, and the Lord was very happy to see him. So one thing I would like to say at this point is that when Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, he spent the 4 months of the rainy season in which place? Raise your hand. Yeah. Excuse me? Very good, wrong guess. But nice one, nice guess, but not the right answer. Yes. Sri Rangam. And there he interacted with, look at Brother Mohan's hiding a little bit, so I'm going to have to force him. I also know how to do that too, but I'm not listening. So, who did he spend time with in Sri Rangam? Yes, he saw him every day, but
Venkata Bhatt and
Venkata Bhatt.
Gopal Bhatt.
Goswami's father and uncle.
and uncle. What was his uncle's name? Prabodhananda. His name was Gopal at that time, I think. And then when he left, and of course, this is in the 9th chapter of Madhya Lila, and it's so exciting, Mahaprabhu's travels in South India. But when he left after the rainy season, and Kala Krishnadas had seen all this. So when he left after the rainy season, Mahaprabhu left, Venkatabhata, after having been with Mahaprabhu for 4 months and thinking every day, tomorrow's going to be just like today. After 4 months, you start thinking like that, or even 1 month in a place, you start thinking like that, and you're used to everything. And then Mahaprabhu left, and they fainted. You faint when you raise your hand if you've ever fainted. Yeah. What does it feel like, 18? Not much. Such an 18 answer.
You just feel like you just lose consciousness.
Yeah,
Lights go out.
yeah. So, the way I think of it is like, it's like your life, your prana is either slowly or quickly just exits your consciousness. And then the lights are out. They fainted, their life left their bodies, their minds, their prana left. Inconceivable. He left. And then Mahaprabhu kept going. And he went to one place nearby, I assume, called Rishabha Hill. I don't know where that is. You ever hear of Rishabha Hill? It's in Tamil Nadu somewhere. And there he heard that Paramananda Puri, who was Madhavendra Puri's disciple, means the godbrother of his spiritual master, Sri Ishwar Puri, he had spent the 4 months of the rainy season there in Rishabha Hill. So he heard that Paramananda Puri was there. And later on he meets Ranga Puri also, and ecstasy, these beloved disciples of Madhavendra Puri carried with them. And Mahaprabhu immediately went to see him. And they spoke Krishna Katha together for several days, 2 or 3 days perhaps. And then Mahaprabhu asked him, he felt so much attraction to this person who was his senior, who was his respected elder, who was his worshipable god uncle, that he said, I have a request for you. Could you bless me? And Mahaprabhu, when he speaks, he's so gentle. Could you please bless me with your association in Jagannath Puri? I want to stay with you always. And Paramananda Puri he had planned to go to Jagannath Puri, but then he was going to go to Bengal. But when Mahaprabhu asked him that, he decided to change his plans. And instead of going to Jagannath Puri and then to Bengal, because Mahaprabhu had to keep on traveling anyway, so he wouldn't get to Jagannath Puri immediately rather. So Paramananda Puri decided to go to Bengal first and then to Jagannath Puri, so that he wouldn't have anywhere else to go after he arrived in Jagannath Puri in the association of Mahaprabhu. Now, what can you understand from that? Or what, or anything can you understand from that? And it's the same point that I was making before. Yes,
He wants to make the purpose as to be with the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and doesn't want to be distracted.
by thoughts of after japa somewhere else. Yes, thank you. But there's more. Yes,
For the pleasure of Mahaprabhu is willing to change his plans.
yes. But there's more. At least now we're going to get into the realm of mind reading. You're going to have to figure out what I'm thinking. The particular angle I'm looking at this at. Yes.
I think it's quite an amazing reciprocation because he's wanting to come towards Mahaprabhu's request, with Lord Chaitanya's showing his appreciation for him, and so he's coming towards him.
Yes. Getting closer to what I'm thinking.
God is eager to be with his devotees are eager to be with God.
Yes. Yes. Want to have a go at it?
For Mahaprabhu had become everything for him.
Sort of like that. Just imagine, even though we don't speculate, but and we can't reach there through the power of our intelligence or our mind, but just imagine the charismatic, attractive power of this person, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, that he meets someone who in the culture, and they were also cultured and they followed the culture, was worshipable to him. And he was so exalted already that he was so attracted to Mahaprabhu, understanding his position, practically speaking, that he was ready to be in this person's association for the rest of his life. Just, we can maybe get a glimpse of the charisma. The word charisma means power. The power, the shakti, the attractiveness of God, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His beauty, his internal absorption, his ecstasies, his way of dealing, the way of reciprocating, his effulgence, so attractive. So perhaps, maybe, it might be good if we try to develop an attraction for this all-attractive person. Perhaps. And when he arrived there, and when he got to, when he was in Navadvip, Advaitacharya, perhaps they were waiting for the devotees from Srikanda and Kuliagram to come. So there was a bit of delay for one reason or another. So even so, although spontaneous, they were practical. So they didn't leave that exact moment, but rather they there was some delay, and Paramananda Puri, just who was used to being to wandering in places, and he was going, and he was fully used to always depending on Krishna, and he just said, "I'm leaving." I mean, not in a cruel, hard way, but he didn't. His eagerness was so great, he didn't want to wait, even for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 or 7 days it may take He wanted to see Mahaprabhu, so he left immediately. Decided to go there as soon as possible, and Mahaprabhu was happy to see him. So the rest of this chapter is about different devotees, because we already heard how the devotees from Jagannath Puri, we heard this earlier, had met Mahaprabhu when he arrived, and it was like parched, dry grains in the field being brought back to life by the rains. They were brought back to life by Mahaprabhu's presence. So now devotees from all over Bengal will come and see Mahaprabhu and join him. So the first one who comes is who? Give you a hint. So this was our PP. Very good, thank you. And the second one who comes is SD. SD. Swarup Damodar. And then the third one who comes is G. Govinda. And then after Govinda, then there's, who comes after Govinda? I can't remember, maybe there's no one, and then there's few right at the end. And all of them are very interesting, and they all have their own, they come, and they're also eager to see Mahaprabhu for completely different reasons. Govinda is eager to see him because he was serving Madhavendra Puri and before, Sri Ishwara Puri, and before Ishwara Puri left this world, departed, he told him to, after I leave, you go and serve Mahaprabhu. So he immediately went to serve Mahaprabhu, took care of him, and Govinda was such a servant. And it's interesting because there's a few times, he was very subtle and knew just how to serve properly. Okay. Oh yes, so in the Paramananda Puri very soon arrived at Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's place. The Lord was very happy to see him. Ananda, Prabhu Ananda. So the Lord also the devotees feel eager to see the Lord, and the Lord also is a person and reciprocates, and he's eager to see the devotees. The devotees add pleasure to the Lord. In the great ecstasy of love, the Lord worshipped the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri. And in turn, Paramananda Puri embraced the Lord in great ecstasy. This was the way of their dealings. And Paramananda Puri is described as, Mahaprabhu says, I'm living in this world by the good behavior of Paramananda Puri. He was so exemplary. And he and I think it was 7 other sannyasi associates of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri became the roots of the tree of Mahaprabhu's movement. Upon the roots are that which the growth rests, of the tree rests. So he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's worshipping Paramananda Puri. And Paramananda Puri, in exchange, is embracing him and blessing him in great ecstasy. So again, it says, Prema Vesh Koila Tandra Charana Vandan. So filled with prema, then he worshipped the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri, Charana Vandan. And then Prema Vesh Koila Prabhude Alingana. He embraced Mahaprabhu with also Premavesh. They were both Premavesh, filled with love. This is Krishna consciousness. And then Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, please stay with me and thus show me favor, accepting the shelter of Jagannath Puri. And Paramananda Puri replied, I also wish to stay with you. Therefore, I have come from Bengal, Goda, to Jagannath Puri. And actually, he had come from South India to Bengal, to Jagannath Puri, for the express purpose to be in the company of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And it wasn't like a casual Airbnb visit or something like that. Please accept the shelter of Jagannath Puri, Ashray, the shelter of Jagannath Puri, Niladri Ashray. Please accept this as your place. Paramananda Puri replied, I also wish to stay with you, therefore have come from Bengal, Goda to Jagannath Puri. At Navadvip, Mother Sachi and all the other devotees were very glad to hear about your return from South India. They are all coming here to see you. But seeing that they were delayed, I came alone very quickly. So now the devotees in Jagannath Puri, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the other devotees in Jagannath Puri learned that all the devotees in Bengal know that Mahaprabhu has returned and they're on the way to see him, which will be the subject of the next chapter. And then a final verse that we'll read. There was a solitary room at Kazi Mishra's house. That means close, because Mahaprabhu was staying at the house of Kazi Mishra. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave it to Paramananda Puri. He also gave him a servant, someone to care for him. Any questions or comments? Yes.
It seems like most of the devotees that are coming from Navadvip.
From?
From Navadvip, or around from Bengal.
Yeah.
But like it says that when Mahaprabhu went to South India, and like he made whole villages into devotees. So did those devotees from South India also come? Or?
Only Gopal Bhatta and his uncle Prabodhananda Saraswati, they came, but they didn't come here to Jagannath Puri. They ended up going to Vrindavan. There's no mention that Mahaprabhu had requested them to come, the South Indian devotees, nor is there any mention that he even told them that he was returning to Jagannath Puri. And also, it takes 2 weeks to walk from Bengal. How long does Google say it takes to walk from Madras, from Chennai? How long does it take to walk to Jagannath Puri from Chennai?
I'll take it up.
Okay. But it's not required, but it's quite far. Speaker from Kerala. From
11 days.
it says to walk.
That'll be non-stop.
So we say, so how many hours a day can you walk, Rajmohan? If you okay, that would be a good math question. If it would take 11 days for someone to walk from Chennai to Jagannath Puri, not walking 24 hours a day, how long would it take Rajmohan to walk? Maybe 6 or 7 years. That's especially carrying all those books. And Jeevy. Yes.
It is nicely described how Lord Chaitanya, wherever he goes, people from all backgrounds fall in love with him.
Yes.
And but there are always other people, particularly, I think this called Bataharis, who the one who kidnapped Kalevishras. They were bad people, or they were covered by Yoga Maya for the pastime of both of them. What is the understanding?
Well, I would say they were bad people. Because not only did they try to lure Kala Krishnadas away, when Mahaprabhu came and rescued him, they tried to kill him. That's bad. Because they were already doing something wrong, and they know they're doing something wrong. But then when someone tries to disagrees with them, they become very angry and violent. So that's very tamagun. So your question was, were they bad, or is this all just lila, basically? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or could you say that they were even fortunate because they got to see Mahaprabhu? But yes, like when the demons would attack Krishna, they were fortunate because he would kill them. But Mahaprabhu was in a different mood. He just took them away and left. He didn't preach to them. He didn't bless them. He didn't. Yeah, so it seems to me they were bad people. I mean, there were people who avoided the mercy of Mahaprabhu.
Applying the logic of a very attractive person, like even today, Hollywood star, for example, that everybody gets attracted to, and they feel attracted. So the Lord is the most attractive person. So naturally,
but when someone is deeply in ignorance, that changes one's desires. And rather than being attracted to the person, like Kamsa, you become envious of the person. So envy is really a product of ignorance. So they were so inimical and envious that they tried to kill him. They threw weapons at him. So all attractive, say if there's an all good kingdom, still there's going to be a prison house in the kingdom for people who don't want to follow the laws. There's always that group of people. So similarly, there's always people who won't be attracted to that which is all attractive. And that's not the fault of the all attractive, that's the free will of the living entity. And that free will is the gift of Krishna. And I've heard more than one devotee, even I heard one devotee recently even say this to Prabhupada. Why did Krishna give us this kind of free will that we could misuse and get ourselves into so much trouble? And his reply was, it's free will. Because Krishna has fully free will, we have a little free will. So this question can also get into this type of an answer can get into how does the soul enter into, but we won't try that one. But we should know that free will is the essence of individuality in one sense. And it's the essence of love, rather, of prema. And the real challenge of life is to use our free will properly to move closer to Krishna. And to be consciously trying to move closer to Krishna. And if we do that, then Krishna reciprocates, because he also has free will. He reciprocates with our sincerity. And he could make the journey of unlimited miles, kilometers, be just like Vatsapadam, just a small footprint of a calf. But that's his free will. What do you think? Yeah, there's always free will. So I've heard one devotee there was one point, he got so angry at Krishna for giving him free will. That means he was suffering a lot. Okay, we should end. But we should end with something a little sweeter than that. And there was another devotee who was so happy, like Parmananda Puri, who he used his free will to get to Mahaprabhu as quickly as he could. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta.
Jai.
Sri Krishna Kaviraj Krishna Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Jai.
Sri Prabhupada.
Jai.
Sri Prabhupada.
Oh.